Syria?
Yep.
Yeah, the United Nations just called for a humanitarian ceasefire in Aleppo because apparently there was intense fighting.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you, how does that work? Because there seemed to be lack of enthusiasm, let's say, calling for a ceasefire a couple of days ago during the offensive of the opposition group. So could you just, first of all, update us on what's going on, and how do you see the ceasefire?
Okay, well, I'm not going to update you on the ground. We spoke a little bit yesterday about how fluid the situation is, but let me make our position clear on this. We continue to urge all parties for complete compliance with a nationwide cessation of hostilities. We firmly believe that full compliance with the cessation by all parties is the only path to improve the prospect for successful talks.
But I'm a little bit confused because, you know, the attacks by the opposition groups, or, you know, Fatah Sham, which was like a couple of weeks ago, was Jabhat al-Nusra, and they are aided by weapons that are supplied by the Saudis, supplied by many of your allies and so on. Even some say supplied directly by you. I mean, how do you juxtapose this against your call for a lasting ceasefire?
You know, I would talk about what Ambassador Power said yesterday, and as well as she made some comments to the press today in New York. You know, at the informal UN Security Council meeting yesterday, they had that conversation about the situation now in Aleppo and the impact on civilians. It is really hard to characterize this. This is dire.
Very briefly on Aleppo, and this group that is allegedly was involved in breaking the siege, the rebel group, the ones that were accused of beheading this, beheading this child. One, do you know if the reports are true that they are or were involved in the fighting around Aleppo recently?
So we've seen reports that the alleged perpetrators in last month's video have been seen fighting in Aleppo. I'm not in a position to confirm.
Okay. Should it become confirmed that they are, is that an issue for you guys?
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, when reports of the beheading came out, we strongly condemned, you know, the barbaric actions seen on that video. No matter what group was responsible. We note that that group had also said that they would hold those individuals to account. We're not in a position to confirm if that's happened, but we do expect all parties to comply with obligations under the law of armed conflict.
So you're unaware that there has ever been a resolution to this specific
I am not in a position to confirm that, no.
Case. And then just the other thing, which I think you probably won't answer, but is this group still being supported by, or was it ever supported by the United States?
So for security reasons, we do not comment on which groups are funded by the United States. However, we don't support groups that commit this sort of barbarity, period.
Okay. So that would imply, without saying it directly, that if a group were to have done something like this and it had been getting U.S. support, it would no longer be eligible for U.S. support.
I just repeat my last point. We do not support groups.
Is it against the rules to complete a syllogism?
It
in this building?
It is, for security reasons, we don't indicate which groups we do support. It's policy.
I'm asking you if you don't support them, not if you do.
What I'm saying is that we don't support groups that would engage in this sort of barbarity.
That would engage.
That may have engaged. Okay, we're going to stay on Syria.
You continually say there's no military solution and it has to be a political agreement, but isn't it quite obvious by now that the parties on the ground and the Russians think that whoever gets Aleppo will have leverage at the political negotiating table? So no matter what the U.S. might be saying, that dynamic is going to take over.
I wouldn't tie it to any particular military operation. What I'd say is we believe, in speaking broadly about the talks, and the Secretary said something very similar, is if there is a chance to get to a genuine cessation of hostilities that provides the sort of full humanitarian access that we're talking about, that protects civilians and provides the space, facilitates a framework for a political transition, we have to try.